Electra Jr. You might wonder why we're seeing a civilian aircraft like this in a Battle of Britain air show. Well, the reason for that is the use of this very Lockheed 12A on covert photographic reconnaissance duties in the lead-up to World War II and its employment for a time thereafter. This started out as a bilateral arrangement with the French because both the UK and France were in need of up-to-date aerial intelligence. And the choice of a platform to gather that fell on the Lockheed 12A. The British end was handled by the Secret Intelligence Service. And this particular Lockheed 12A was shipped to the UK aboard the SS Aquitania and reassembled by Cunliffe Owen Aircraft at Eastleigh in Southampton in May 1939. It was then converted for the photographic reconnaissance role by Cunliffe Owen and by Airwork at Heston. They installed camera ports in the bottom of the fuselage for a split pair of F-24 reconnaissance cameras with 10% overlap between them to guarantee maximum coverage. They also fitted an aperture in the main cabin door for a handheld camera and small camera ports in the leading edges of the wings between the engines and the fuselage, each for a single forward-facing Leica reporter camera, and those cameras were synchronized to achieve stereoscopic imagery. It was quite an advanced fit. Cotton's assistant photographer, in inverted commas, Patricia Martin, devised two further modifications as well. One of them was a teardrop window on the port side of the cockpit, which isn't now featured on the aeroplane. That could act as another position for a handheld camera. And she also devised pipework to divert hot air from the engine exhausts across the lens of the starboard belly camera, so that camera's lens wouldn't fog up at higher altitudes. And it went on to be flown operationally by a notorious, infamous, buccaneering, call him what you will, character by the name of Sidney Cotton, an Australian-born adventurer and aviator, and also by his co-pilot, a Canadian by the name of Flying Officer Bob Niven. And it's Niven's logbooks in particular which have revealed many of the clandestine activities of this aircraft. It made an initial deployment out to Malta and beyond to cover key points in the Italian Empire as far afield as Italian Somaliland and Libya. Then in mid-August 1939 it made a flight of 6 hours 10 minutes out of Heston and back again to the Wilhelmshaven area of Germany to capture Luftwaffe airfields and military facilities in the East Frisian Islands. And again at the end of that month, so we're talking mere days before war broke out, it photographed naval objectives in North German coastal areas. Several times it also flew to Berlin's city centre Tempelhof Airport on business associated with Sidney Cotton's cover story, but there are no records of it having carried out photography on those occasions, nor on a visit to a major international air rally in Frankfurt. Its last visit to Berlin before war broke out was connected with an abortive attempt to fly Hermann Goering to Britain for peace talks. Then, when hostilities commenced, of course it wasn't possible for this aircraft to fly into such hostile airspace, but it did carry out some more photography. It flew to Ireland's west coast to check on reports of German U-boats refuelling off Ireland, and to the Dutch and Belgian ports to test the presence or otherwise there of boom defences. Sidney Sidney Cotton was commissioned into the RAF as a wing commander, and this aircraft also joined the RAF with what became the Photographic Development Unit. It can really be seen today as instrumental in developing the sort of photographic capabilities that led to the first photographic reconnaissance Spitfires having already become active over France. This Lockheed was used as a support aircraft by the unit and on business relating to the Secret Intelligence Service. It flew several times to France before France fell. But then it was in that hangar at Heston on the 19th of September 1940 when it was damaged by a parachute mine. Also in there, incidentally, was another aircraft we've seen at Duxford shows in the past, the de Havilland Hornet Moth, owned by Mark Miller. This Lockheed went back to the USA for repair, and it would end up staying in the States for 82 years. It was then bought by Fighter Aviation Engineering, and Air Leasing at Sywell have restored it to this absolutely fantastic condition. It took to the air for the first time after that restoration on the 27th of March this year, and aeroplanes flying on our display circuit do not come much more historic than this. One of several Lockheed 12s associated with Sidney Cotton, who also owned a number of them post-war, but this, his actual pre-war photographic reconnaissance mount, and it now lives here at Duxford. The interior of this aircraft is as gorgeous looking as the exterior. Again, a superb job done on this. As the Hawker Nimrod gets airborne off the grass. Just such a fascinating aeroplane, the Electra Junior. You'll note this very interesting colour scheme that it wears, which is believed to be pretty equivalent, a pretty good match with a scheme known as camo tint, which Cotton took the credit for. You can see the similarities between that and the later photographic reconnaissance blue adopted by Spitfires and the like.